Hello again, and welcome to the International Association of Woodcarvers, where carvers are helping carvers during this pandemic. Um, Wanted to take just a second to thank you all for joining us. Today is Halloween, October the 31st, and I know a lot of you all have family stuff going on, so thank you for taking your time out today to join us. Today we have a special guest coming to us from Mexico. A lot of you know his work, you've seen his work through the years, and we're happy to have him on with us today so that you all can ask questions and hear his story. Mr. Chris Hammack, thanks, Chris, for joining us. Before we get started, I'll go through the list of some of the people that we're having come up on the meetings. Next weekend, we'll have Jared Wood. He'll be doing a demonstration for us. On November the 14th, we'll have Dave Stetson coming back on. He's going to do a demonstration. On November the 21st, we'll have Kevin Applegate coming on and talking about his wood carving journey and him being a member of the CCA. We'll have Jim Feather on November the 28th. Larry Green coming on December the 5th. Ryan Olson coming on December the 12th. And then recently, I just talked to Wayne Larimore, and Wayne's filled our spot for December the 19th. So we have quite the lineup that's coming up through the end of the year. That'll take us right up to Christmas. We'll probably take off the Saturday after Christmas and then start again immediately following the beginning of the year. So that's what we've got coming up. I know everybody's joined us today to hear from Chris. So Chris, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you and look forward to hearing about your journey. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm happy to be here. Now this is going to have to be, you guys are going to have to help me out like a question and answer thing. I've always can think of something to say, but you just kind of gotta like prime the pump, give me a starting point, and I can kind of go from there.
So tell us a little bit, Chris, about how you got started in carving, and a little bit about your spit and whittle casting business, and how you've gotten to where you are today.
Okay. I told Blake and Tom the story the other day about I was interviewed one time by a local kind of a local human interest newspaper deal when I was in Texas, and this young reporter, this girl came out and she had a pad full of questions to ask me, and her very first question was, so how did you get started in whittling? And I told her, I said, like most young boys, I dreamed what attracted me to professional whittling was really the money and women. That's kind of why I got started. And she was writing and she said, yep, that's, and I said, but I was just trying to joke with her, break the ice. And I said, but I went on to, I've carved for a long time now for a living and yada, yada, yada. She never broke stride writing and asked me her next questions. Well, the first line of the article was, so Hammack got into whittling for the money and the women, but he found he enjoyed it and kept on as a career. So sometimes a joke is maybe lost on some people. So I really didn't get into it for the money and women. I started carving at about 19, and I'd always grew up in Texas, been kind of fascinated with cowboys, loved that life, wanted to grow up and be a cowboy and an artist. And so I was always drawing these cowboys and wanted to start whittling some of the stuff that I had, well, let me back up a step. When I was 19, I was working as a roofer and fell through, had a roofing accident and couldn't work for about 6 months. And that's when I started to, while I couldn't work, I started to try to see if I could create some of the cartoons that I did in wood, which was pretty much a disaster. I was looking for some of my old pieces the other day to show somebody because they were asking me about starting out, and I wanted to show how horrible they were to begin with. I couldn't find them, but I mean, they looked like a 2x4 with just the edges kind of scratched off and a little bit of paint thrown on it. So that kind of led me to those first kind of rough attempts, led me to the library, and I was living in Fort Worth, Texas at the time, and I found a few books. I found Andy Anderson's old book on cowboys, which is a great, he was kind of the original cowboy carver, really, and which I was totally fascinated with his work. I found one of Harold Inlow's books in the library, and that put me on the direction of finding out the right kind of wood to use. I've been trying to carve on some hackberry logs that I had around the house, you know, cutting them up a little bit. So it led me to where I found out about basswood. I followed that trail to a local store we had that sold different kinds of wood. They sold basswood. And at that store, I found a book by really great carver named Claude Bolton. Claude's passed away now, but a lot of you guys know him or knew him when he was alive. He's a good carver, and he happened to live right there in Fort Worth. So I contacted him, and like most wood carvers, he was a super nice guy. Just invited me over to his house, and that was the first time I had seen any really quality wood carvings in life. And I was completely fascinated and just obsessed with the quality of work he could do and what he could make out of a piece of wood. And Claude was really instrumental. He taught me how to sharpen a knife, which Claude was an expert on that. And that kind of got me. I knew what I wanted to carve, but I didn't have the skills with the tools to try to begin to carve it out of wood. And once I got some sharp tools, just kind of started going from there, step by step, trying to carve some of the stuff that I had drawn. And they had a very active club, which was very helpful at the time. The Fort Worth club was really active, and found out about the club through Claude, and met a lot of other great carvers there. Jack Price was a member at the time. Steve Prescott joined that club about the time. Steve's passed away since, but it's another great carver. And really got kind of immersed in finding some other people who did great work. And I have a bit of an obsessive personality. So when I started doing it, I just knew that was what I wanted to do. And so started then, went back to roofing for about 2 months and said, that's it. So by the time I was 20, I was almost inevitably the youngest guy in the room, but that was what I wanted to do, and started carving some, and entered some local shows, wood carving shows, and was kind of got started from there. Met another really good carver. I don't know, you guys, I know Dave will know him. Charlie Winstead was another really influential carver at the time for me. Not only a great friend, but really helped encouraging. And I think it's something I've found, as you guys know, the wood carvers as a group are all over the country, are very helpful to people starting out. And it's a great resource if somebody has that kind of support. So from there, I started at the shows, met other people in other parts of the country that had wood carving shows, and started just traveling around trying to sell my work. And when you're doing it for a living, it's very different. I mean, I was trying to figure out how to make money and just kind of start a career doing it. And so I kind of went from wood carving shows to entering local art shows, craft shows, things like that, and figuring out what would sell, what didn't sell, how to price work, exhibit work, which is all learning. I was completely green, didn't know any of those things, how to do them. And so through traveling to art shows all over, then I started trying to enter some different types of art shows. And especially I kind of, there was a much bigger audience in art shows than there were in wood carving shows specifically. And so started traveling to art shows all over the country. The Charlie Russell Art Show in Montana, just started hitting big shows really all over the country, wherever I could. And through those shows, when I don't know how many of you guys, you probably all read, or a lot of you have read Harold Enlow's books. And I started out emulating the people that I admired, which Harold was one of the main ones. He would carve his pieces with a separate head. Like he would carve these cowboys, carve a head separate so you could turn it any direction, get a little more motion to it, a little easier. And so I was doing that, and I would come up with a bunch of really bad heads that didn't really work, but you could always save those and put them on cork and sell them as bottle stoppers. And so that, having some success with making and selling those bottle stoppers, which I made hundreds of them during that time, and they would always be something that would sell at a show. They would sell inexpensively, and I could at least make my gas money and the show entrance and whatever I knew from these stoppers. So that led me to thinking, it's a good selling product. Why don't I try to figure out, this was in 1987, probably. I've been carving for about 3 years, 4 years. And so I started trying to figure out how to reproduce these. In resin casting was kind of fairly new at the time. There wasn't a lot of it. There was a lot of hydrocal and other materials. But resin casting was kind of new. And so it led to trying to figure out how to reproduce and paint these things to have a faster way of, if you get a good design, you want to try to, how could I get away from carving every one of them, so, and have a product to sell. So I worked on learning the casting process, and there wasn't YouTube obviously back then. Nobody would tell you anything. You couldn't figure out how to do it. So it was quite a process to cast them and paint them. It took a year or so of trying to figure that out. Once I did and got a reliable method of reproducing them, started taking those to shows. Those would sell. I could always sell almost as many of those I made. So I started thinking, why don't I get these and try to get them into stores, which led me to kind of a big part of my career as a wood carver is basically the wholesale gift business. And so I began to learn the process that stores went through to buy their merchandise and how to market directly to a store. You obviously sell them a lot cheaper, but you sell a lot of them. And so that led to it led to me starting a company that eventually named Spit and Whittle, and bottle stoppers became our primary product. It grew to, I had at the height, I had maybe 25 full-time employees between casting, painting, finishing, shipping, office people, and we sold to over a couple thousand retail outlets around the country. We had some international distributors that we dealt with in other countries, and was a really interesting kind of part of my career, which took me, it was a totally different business. It became really more of a kind of a manufacturing business, as opposed to strictly the artwork. It was a product and how to produce it and all that goes with that.
Hey, Chris.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just a quick question for you. You know, noticing that your Spit and Whittle bottle stoppers are still out there available. I know that Rob purchased a couple recently on the aftermarket here, but Sue and I were in an antique store, and I was wondering if you also did the coin jar tops as well. You know, the little jars with the figures on the top.
Yeah, I did those for that. That's kind of I'll tell you the quick story of, I don't know how interesting any of this is, but I'll just keep going. And if everybody drops off, I'll know they didn't want to hear about this. But quickly, so I did that. The company kept growing and growing. And so in about the, through the 90s and in the late 90s, China and China manufactured goods really got into the market, in the gift market. Chinese reproductions and really some quality stuff they were doing started to become readily available, and the prices on everything kept dropping at a retail level. They could make things much more inexpensively than we could. And over the years, I kind of was getting pressure from Chinese manufacturers to begin to work with them. And I resisted for a long time, but late 90s, I met a guy who said, just let me, he was a representative from a Chinese company. And he said, let me just make some samples for you and I'll price them to you and see what you think. And so I gave him a couple of my pieces, and about 3 weeks later, I got a box back from China with some, they were absolutely identical pieces. And the price on them, for example, our piece cost me about $4 for a stopper to get it on the shelf ready to ship. Say a product we sold for $10 wholesale. And their cost, manufactured, shipped back to me and in an individual box, was 65 cents a piece. That's including ship to my door, everything. And at that point, I really started considering, and they were perfect. And I didn't know anything about that importing business, which I learned a lot about. So I tried, when you have to import them, you import about 10,000 of them at a time. So you order a bunch of them. And I didn't realize that on those samples, they put their very best painters and their very best techniques. They're very careful with them. When you order 10,000 of them, they're not so careful. And so needless to say, it was kind of fraught with some setbacks, and it was a very difficult decision. I was trying to figure, I had several employees in the small town where I lived. 25 people was a lot of people employed, and so I was dealing with, am I gonna let these people go, try to go to strictly import business? Prices were getting price pressure changing. So in looking around in about 2000, I licensed, I found a company in, they were based in New Jersey, a gift company who was very interested in licensing my products and me just designing for them. And they did the importing, the selling and everything, just straight commission on whatever they sold. And I made a deal with a company called What a Concept, Tony, and that's where so they licensed all my complete line of bottle stoppers and everything else. And then I began designing for them. And one of the product lines that they wanted to do was these little jars, these crazy little like ashes of X's, or they were called funny money banks, like college fund or my best fart, or they said all kinds of things.
What I got left in the divorce. That's the one that's on.
Yeah, well, that was my favorite. That's a sculpture of me, actually, because that happened about the same time. That's another story I won't go into, but that was happening in my life at the same time.
Yeah, we don't mind, but if you want to sing the song, we won't care.
No, not gonna sing that. That's a private song. So anyway, I began designing for them, and that was the line. And I did, I don't know, 150 different sculptures for them, I think, for those jars. And they're still available on eBay too. They show up a lot of times, along with the stoppers are still on there also. So that was a part of my career. Then I began designing for them, and I designed for a few other companies at the time, and that all went great, went well. I was doing fine. I did about 5 years of clay sculpture, even though they looked like wood carvings. The originals were done in super sculpey and then just kind of carved to give the look of wood. So then that went great until about 2008, when everything went down. Many gift companies went down, many retail outlets went down, and the company just they closed up. And so at that point, I began reevaluating. I didn't want to go back to manufacturing. And I'd gotten a little bit older, maybe a little smarter, and or I don't know about if I've ever gotten smarter. Maybe I should take that back. I got older. Anyway, I decided I really wanted to, what I was what I am at my heart's a wood carver, and that's what I wanted to do. So about that time, I started trying to focus on original work, and that's kind of where I've been going since then. And I got back kind of in touch with the wood carving community that I had really just not been focused on because I was in the wholesale gift business, and have really been happy with that. It's not obviously it's not a big business. It's not as I'm not as focused on trying to make more money. I really try to focus on, since then, I've been trying to focus on producing the best artwork I could, and got involved with some more teaching again about that time. And that's kind of where I've been focused on from then up until now. And have loved every, I tell people when I'm doing classes or something, I'm still as excited today as I was really the first time I'm as obsessed as I was first time I started carving and creating a new carving. Every one of them, I get totally psyched up and jazzed about each one. My wife will tell you, I carry them around with me. I take them to, when I go to sleep at night, I put whatever I'm working on beside the bed. I look at it. I pick it up in the morning, go make coffee, go back to carve. I I really love everything about wood carving. I love the way it feels. Uh, there's I'm still as excited about it as the first time I started carving, really.
Hey, Chris, how's it going? It's Ryan. Can you see
Hey,
me?
what's happening, buddy? Oh yeah, I see you.
I have two choices. I either got to come to Mexico to see you or come on this Zoom meeting to see you because we never were able to get together. But
Well, I both are good, but you're welcome in Mexico anytime.
hey, I've got a question, Chris. I've thought a lot about your one-on-one teaching that you've been doing, and I know.
Are you going to ask me in Spanish or just in English?
Well, whichever you want.
No, no, I think your Spanish is better than mine, so let's stick with English.
So, in singing, I know that if you one-on-one teaching is the absolute best, that you can learn so much faster one-on-one teaching. And I've seen that you've been doing a lot of one-on-one teaching,
Yeah,
and in Zoom. And I just kind of wanted to know how it's going. I've heard a lot of real positive stuff. I just was talking to Tony, who's on here, that's worked with you a little bit. He was talking about how great it is. Maybe could you talk a little bit about that process, how we can do it, and how that works, and how that's been working for you, and that part of your business.
yeah,
That sounds
sure.
really, really like a really neat thing.
Well, I'd been thinking about it a little bit for a while because you're just limited doing a live class. You're just limited by how much time you have and how much you can get to each person and really help them. And then with, of course, like everybody with COVID, it's just kind of changed all our lives, obviously. And so I thought I would just give it a try. And it's been very interesting and really enjoyable. And I honestly believe in many ways it's better in many ways than a live class with someone. I find for myself, I think it helps me to be, I think honestly, I'm a little bit lazier when I'm one-on-one, like a live class, because I come around to each person, I kind of pick up their piece, and my tendency is to start carving on it and say, here's what you need to do. And then I carve it, and I just keep going. And I think when I leave that person, I don't know how much I think it's very difficult to retain all the step-by-step process. And in my classes that are one-on-one, you can record it, number one, so you can go back and rewatch slowly. Well, let me say there's two different ways people have been doing it, and I'm still learning about it and figuring out what works best. But there's two different ways people have either carved with me step by step. Like I make a cut, and I've got really high res cameras that show better than I can see it with my eyes. The cameras can see everything. So they see a really high definition each cut, and they make the cut along with me, and I'm able to see theirs and say, well, a little more here, or take a little more off this place or that place. And I think that experience of doing that, so the two ways are they either carve with me cut for cut, or they simply I'll carve a piece if somebody wants to do a face or whatever it might be. They want to learn eyes or ears or elbows, whatever it might be. I'll carve it, and they ask me questions as I carve, and I can draw pictures, explain it, I can carve it, and then they have that recording to go back later on, and then they carve that, kind of work with it step by step on their own. So in both ways seem to work equally well. It kind of depends on what the individual student wants out of it. And so in mine, I let them record it, and then whatever I carve during the class or the time with them, I'm actually going back to the States next week, and I've got a whole box full of things I send everybody. Whatever I carve during their time, I'm shipping to them after the class. So I've had some students come on and just do one class, just they want to do eyes, or they want to do a particular face. Maybe they do 1 or 2 classes. And then I've had other students, we've gone through doing complete projects from beginning to end, all the way through painting. And I've got some to show.
Chris,
Hey, Barry.
hey, let me jump in here real quick. I've been doing classes with Chris for, I think, probably since the get-go. And
Yeah, I think so.
And they have been very, very beneficial. I have a library of video recordings from the time that for each class that we've had. And then, Chris, you hadn't seen this one because I just put it together just the last few days. But when we get through with something, or when we're doing something and Chris wants to finish up, he'll send me 4 or 5 photographs and of what he's done. And then I can look at those, but I've compiled all of these photographs that he sent me. And
Oh, nice.
I've got me a journal right here of one of these projects that we're doing. He's going to dig that one out.
I'll show you the
a
project.
that we've been doing, and these are pictures that he has sent me. And then I also have the videotape. And so it really works out well for me, and I would recommend it to any of you for what it's worth. But it's great, and Chris and I have a good time, and it's, I mean, I've learned a lot and I've improved tremendously.
Yeah, and to tack on to Barry here, I signed up for 5 classes or 4 classes with Chris, and I strictly was doing design. But what that allowed me to do is to pick his brain for half an hour sessions at a time, not specifically on anything, but on just design. So we didn't carve anything. I spent time showing him my progress in drawings and design, and then he was able to follow that up with his ideas to supplement how I could be more original, what I should focus on, taking big projects and breaking them down into much smaller ones. So all great advice that I hadn't thought of that complements my design process too as well. So high value on my end as well.
Hey, thank you. Here's the one that Barry and I have been working on, this little golfer. He's just dug a hell of a divot out. His club's wrapped all around. That's the project he was showing you. That's one of them. I don't know. I already packed up, Barry, that finished one because I'm going to send it to you. We did a little orchestra director that was kind of cool too. Really neat piece with Barry. And we went all the way through. Yeah, there you go. We went all the way through painting that guy, and it's kind of the thing I like.
Don't tell him how many cutouts I did.
No, I won't tell him that was your 8th one. I won't tell him that.
I got that sucker out 8 times.
No, kind of the great thing is, Ryan, back to your question, when I go to a live class, I only have basically my tools that I have there and maybe a sketch pad. But when I'm in my shop here, obviously I have all the tools available to if somebody wants to paint, we can paint. If somebody wants to design, I can go over the whole process of drawing, easily switch to that. So I think in many ways, I don't know that it's ever, I will probably always teach a few live classes because that's a different experience. But in many ways, I think this is quite possibly a better, as far as learning, I think it's I think it's a part of the future, and I think it's going to be, it's better for someone. It's better than me. In many ways, it's better than me sitting there and on their carving, make the cuts and show them. And this way they get to experience making the cuts themselves instead of me just watching me do it. They get to do it and experience that. So I think it's going to be, I think it's working good. I hope I try to help people on whatever they need.
So Chris,
Hey, Chris.
this is Jack. Chris, thanks for sharing your time with us today. Can we talk
Hey,
about the brawl for a minute?
Yeah,
Until you
sure.
told me about the horse coming up through the middle of it, I had no idea. Did you have that whole concept drawn out ahead of time before you carved it?
No, it actually, it started out, I wanted to do, and I'm still going to try to do this at some point. You know, in the, I kind of approach everything like as a cartoon. And as a kid, if you saw a big fight in a cartoon, you just see the big dust ball and you'd see arms coming out and legs coming out and everybody's fighting. Well, my idea was to do big, I wanted to do a round carving, but I wanted to carve all the way through it. I wanted to cut it into slices and carve it from the inside out and then put them back together and have just a big ball of people fighting. And I had this big piece of wood. That thing's probably 16 inches tall. Maybe it was a 10 by 10 or 12 by 12. It was a large piece of basswood. And I'd been kind of saving it for that purpose. And so I did a little bit of a clay study for it, Jack, just kind of seeing how I knew I wanted the two guys on top. I wanted them fighting. And then I just kind of imagined the rest of it as I went along. I kind of drew out each side, drew a few rough patterns, but those are kind of projects that are sometimes I would wind up with an empty space on it and come up with something that fit in that space. So I started with a bit of an idea and it just kind of grew little by little there.
And how many cats and dogs are in that, Chris?
I don't know. There's cats, dogs, skunks. There's a scrotum hanging out in one part of it that only the, hey, what's happening, Rich?
Hey, Chris, what's up?
I mean, there's a skunk in it. There's a lot of random body parts that until you really get close and look, if I point them out, you could kind of see what all's in there. But it's full of everything I could think of to throw in there. I threw in. Hi, Holly.
Hi, Chris.
So how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. Nice to see you.
You too.
You're looking good. And I know no shout out is necessary to Helvey Knives, but I will give you my plug while you're on here. I'll give you, so don't be embarrassed. But everybody asked me about the, what kind of knife do you use? And I've used Helvey Knives probably since Ken Helvey started making them. It's probably been 90, probably 30 years now.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Right
Yeah.
on.
I mean, it's, I know there's a lot of good knife makers out there and I've met a bunch of them and they all make great products and have their little differences in each ways. But I really, for my money, as far as consistency and always a great product, Helvey Knives, well, it's why they can't keep up with the orders, because it's the my opinion, they're the best there is.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, that's just the truth. That's not taken away from any other knife maker, but
Well,
you know,
we think you're the best too, buddy.
appreciate that.
Yes.
Appreciate it. I tell everybody, anytime somebody says you're a good wood carver or a talented wood carver, I always say that being a great wood carver is like being the tallest midget in the room. You're still not that much to hang your hat on, but it's what I got.
Well, you do it well. You do it very
Thank you.
well.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well,
Appreciate
we'll,
that.
We'll let you get back to talking to the rest of the people.
Okay, guys. Good to
All
see
right,
you.
take care.
All right, bye.
Yeah.
Chris, can you show us some of your work?
Sure. Of course I can. Who am I talking to? Daniel?
Daniel.
Oh, well, I did a crazy thing, Daniel. This thing came from one of those. I've had many, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I have a little bit to drink, and late at night you come up with these really what seemed like great ideas at the time, and then by the light of the morning you realize it's a stupid idea. So I had an idea on one of those nights to do something called the Barfly of the Month Club, like make these little barflies, and Rich Weatherby made some of the first barflies I ever saw, but I steal a lot of good ideas from Rich. And so these little, I started to make these pieces as teaching aids that are just little guys. I don't know, but a lot of you maybe carved them or something. They're great for studying hands and faces. I wanted to just do as many different hands and faces as I could think of, different types, characters. And so my great idea was I'm just going to do this and make a new one every month and ship a rough out and a pattern to anybody interested every month. A new one. Well, it went pretty good. I had by the time I quit, I did about 45 of them, and they're all still available on my website, but they worked great. So I've still got all the originals here. This one's a little cowboy. I've got, well, for Halloween, now they're covered with dust because they're in a wood carver shop. Frankenstein. And I've got a bunch of them, too many to probably go through piece by piece. Let me think of something. I'm not going to bore you with showing you a whole bunch of work. I will show you my very first wood carving, though. This will, it's not a cowboy, but when I was in 8th grade in school wood shop, I carved this little bear, which is, like I said, it's like a 2x4 with the sides scrubbed off of it. And then I didn't take back up, like I told you the story, I didn't take back up carving seriously till I was like 19. But that gives everybody hope, because you couldn't get much worse than this guy.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, what's happening, Phil?
Hey, man. Can you show us any of your island series?
Yeah, that's what I was going to skip to, because I got a bunch of different stuff. Okay. I'm doing, I moved to Mexico down here about 5 years ago, and it's a wonderful little island with a lot of different, I really love the culture. I love the people, and there's a lot of interesting things on the island life. So I started doing I've got a series of about 7 completed so far, and I'm going to do another 4 or 5 to finish it. So I started carving all island life scenes, and one of them is one of my favorites. when the tourists come to the island, they run around the island. They rent a golf cart for the day and run around the island. So this one is it's a pretty interesting carving because it's all, the body of it's all one piece. I added the cover for the golf cart, but everything else on it is one piece. And it's got the typical, the dad's got a margarita, the daughter in the middle here is on a cell phone. She's not even happy about being on vacation with her family. The mom's been buying who knows what, beach towels, all the other stuff. There's a kid on the back with it's a Mexican toy. I can't think of the name of it right now. But it's a little toy where you throw the ball catch it on a stick. Kind of
it's a balero. It's a balero.
Exactly. Balero. Gracias. Thank you.
De nada.
And then they got the chubby kid in the back. He's eating corn on the cob. It's called elote here, and it's sold by street vendors. And he's eating a churro. He's got a corn on the cob and churro, elote and churro. And there's the other daughter in the back. She's just scouting the beach for boys, probably. But that's kind of an interesting piece because it's all one piece of wood. I had to laminate 2 big chunks together to get it out of, but
Chris,
it's a very interesting piece. Yeah.
What size block was that when you started a hunk of wood? It's a lot of times you look in the magazines, you always look at the pictures and they look small. But then a couple of weeks ago, I saw one guy, he had it in the background. Should have his name here, but I don't have the article I wrote about the size, and it just, his article, they looked small, but when you look at it, he had 24 inches on it. So I was just wondering what size block that was, just to have a curiosity.
Oh, I think this one is about 10 inches wide. Probably a 10 by 8, maybe.
Okay.
Something like that.
Thank you very much.
And the photos and everything on every carving I've ever seen, the photos don't really do them justice. Anybody's carving, I mean, seeing them in person is kind of always really the way to see them, in my opinion.
I wish in articles they would put the size in the magazines when we get our magazines, the size of it actually, so we have an idea what really is going on. And then the other thing about the video you were talking about, for years, and I've gone to meet carving shows and took them. I always wished the instructor had a camera when he's demonstrating something, because you could see better, because you've got 5 guys, 6 guys standing around. It's hard to see the good part.
Yeah, it really is. And going back to, that's something that's really worked well, I think, on the one-on-one classes is a camera right on it, this high-res camera. You have to really I have to really bear down and try to carve clean, because I can see them on the computer. They look a lot rougher than what they look to my eye. So, you can really see it well. And I don't know, in a live class, it's kind of hard to take that whole setup around with you, I guess. So I think that's another good thing about the online classes.
And Chris, while you're grabbing another one, I noticed that, over time you've developed your style, and your style does tend to have larger heads. Is there a ratio you use, head to body?
No, just big head.
Big head. Yeah, I got you.
Not to really, it's kind of a cartooning technique, really. You want the expression on the face is such a big part of the story. It's just kind of part of the technique. There's one, I was doing one, working on a design with somebody the other day, and it was a bodybuilder, like a big muscled guy in a full pose. And they're kind of notorious for the smaller the head. I don't know if this is the steroids or what it is, but the smaller the head, you know, the bigger the muscles are and everything. So that pattern, I kind of particularly kept the head a little bit smaller because it wasn't the main focus of the carving. So it's kind of in design.
Or is it just to allow the expression, allow you to carve the expression? Is that big enough to do that?
It's easily, for me, it's easily recognizable.
Okay.
So you can tell what's going on with the expression. Like I said, in that, for instance, that bodybuilder carving, it's part of the design process is, you know, the face or the expression was not the main focus. The main focus was just he was literally built up so big, you know, he's posing. So, so that's kind of my thing. I don't know, everybody's thinking on it. That's my thoughts on it.
Hey, Chris. What do you?
Hey, Miss Sarah, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Nice to see you.
What are you sealing them with? Like the final sealant?
Well, the final sealer is the antiquing on mine.
Do you use like the acrylic sealant at all? Like, do you antique it after you do that, or?
Yes,
I
seal. I paint it directly on the wood, seal with an acrylic spray sealer, Krylon, works fine, and then antique it. And really, there's no finish necessary after that.
So nothing over the antiquing.
No, but it leaves, because the antiquing kind of dulls down that gloss and leaves it about right. Now, if I have some carvings I'm getting ready to go to a show with or display, I'll clean them up, knock all the dust off and everything, and then you can, if you give them a light spray of like a maybe satin finish Krylon, it will really like bring back just cleans them up and gives them brings back the shine to them a little bit.
Sure.
Don't want them too shiny, but that's just kind of the way I like them. But there's really nothing else on top of it.
Okay, just
after
curious.
that. Yeah.
Hey, Chris, there's a question in the chat. How much were you influenced by Gene Z?
I love Gene Zesh's carving. That's probably Dave Stetson that mentioned that a bit.
You got
it. Well, Gene's a Texas guy and a really good carver. I don't know the direct question to how much influenced. I love his work a lot, and I tried to. We wound up having a bit of a history because we worked for the same. There's a greeting card company called Leaning Tree Greeting Cards, and they've been around for years, and they used his images on greeting cards, and then they began to use some of my images on there, and Gene wasn't too happy about that. So we had some exchange of letters and him saying that I had was infringing on his copyrights and everything. And I tried to write him back very honestly and just say, you know, I love your work, but I don't want to, you know, you don't build a career on copying somebody's work. So all of us, I think, use, whether we even realize it or not, I think you wind up being influenced by everybody's work that you see. So I don't know what the exact answer. I've tried hard and still try hard to have kind of my own look and not be too influenced by other work. It's a big part of, it's kind of the difference also in doing it as a career. If you're going to try to make your name on your own work, you have to have your own style. You have to have your own look. And so I've tried to take that very seriously through the years, and still do. But he's a great, no doubt about it, was one of my favorite carvers, and his work, at least his work, is one of my favorites.
Chris, quick question. How'd you get involved with the CCA?
How you doing, Admiral?
Still afloat.
I like the beard. CCA I was aware that guys, we've all been friends since they Dave and Dave Stetson and Steve Prescott were the first guys I knew kind of getting it organized. They were kind of the main drivers in CCA, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. So I was aware of them when they started, and we're all friends. I had several conversations about it. Back when they started, I was at the point where I was beginning to do the wholesale gift business, as I explained. And I just literally was scrambling to try to make a living, try to feed 2 kids, and pay for an expensive wife. And so I was desperately trying to make money, and I felt like I just did not have the time to devote to it. So I always loved the guys. I always admired their the association and everything. I think it's a very worthwhile, a good bunch of guys, and I'm so proud of them for keeping it going for a long time. And when I as I said, probably about 2008, 2000, right there, when I started to reconnect with and started to devote more of my time just to wood carving, reconnected with those guys, and they were nice enough to still let me in. And it's a good bunch of guys. They do a lot of really good projects. Their books have been fabulous. And it's been a good support and encouragement, I think, for anybody that wants to do this kind of wood carving. I think they've been really good. I'm proud to be part of it. So I like your shop too, Dean. Very, very unorganized, just the way it should be.
Yep, very unorganized. And I just recently cleaned it.
Yeah. Yeah, it shows. It completely shows.
That's organized, Chris.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to tell you, Chris, that you're not the only one that goes to bed with your wood carving.
Oh, very nice. I like that.
A T-shirt from Chris's website.
Oh, I love that T-shirt. Thank you for wearing that. I was gonna try to mention that too. That's awesome. Yeah, my son Clint has that. When I moved to Mexico, he took over the. I was joking. It's kind of my inheritance to him as a wood carver. You don't have a whole lot of money to leave to somebody, so I gave him my rough out business and the knives and stuff like that. And so I still support him and help try to supply new rough outs all the time, but it's his business, and he's a graphic artist and got the equipment to do T-shirts. So we kind of came up with he's going to have a couple more different designs out too pretty soon.
That's awesome. Can't wait for the next one yet.
Thank you, Yoron. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And I'm sure he will too. He's a young guy trying to find his way in the world and COVID and everything. So if anybody wants a T-shirt, hit him up on the website for sure. Appreciate it, Yoron.
Hey, Chris, can you tell us a little bit about the offerings on your website?
Yeah, as I said, it is truly, it's my son's business now. We still, obviously, we work together. I send him new designs all the time, and but he does the design on the side and fulfills all the orders, and basically everything. But we sell, I don't even know how many rough outs now. There's quite a few on there. From all the barflies are on there. I've got a small professional or like series of professional people that are real quick carve, easy pieces. I've got full size carvings on there, and we sell, the only knives we sell are Helby, the signature knives that Helby Knives make for us. We sell those on there. And he started to add some products like the t-shirt. That's a recent one. So that's kind of the extent. You have to go in there and look around. There's just too many to, it's chrishammack.com is the address for it. And hey, there you go. Perfect. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. I'm going to add to those barflies too. I've still got a list of probably 75 more of them that I wanted to do. And eventually, little by little, I'm going to add some more barflies to it, because I thought they were great practice pieces for faces and hands. I probably, that's the number one request from wood carvers is how to carve faces, how to carve hands. Because if you can carve face and hands, you can get bodies and feet, you know. So that's our signature knives and the barflies. Thank you for showing those, Blake. So I don't know. I got a whole bunch of, I mean, I'm not going to bore you with all the wood carvings, but here's I'll show you one more than the island series. This is kind of the latest one I finished up last week. They have these roadside stands here in Mexico where they sell coco frios, which are cold coconuts. They chop them open with these big machetes while you're there, and you can either just drink the water, you can take the water out, pour rum, vodka in, make a punch or whatever. So they have their cool little roadside stands all over this part of Mexico. And so this is kind of a typical, this old lady with the machete is kind of a typical scene from there.
How many pieces of wood on the stand behind her? Like the coconuts, are they separate, or is it like carved together?
Yeah, no, this one, Sarah, was pieced together. Every little, she's one piece, the dog's one piece, and then everything else, the coconuts are separate, the stand is separate.
And Chris, is this something you remembered, or did you take a photograph?
No, I try to keep, I've been taking photographs, Tony, of the, traveling around, and they're kind of amalgamations of a lot of different, some of these stands, like the Coco Frio stands, or some of them are as simple as just a plastic card table with an ice chest and a guy with a machete, and a sign. So that's kind of an amalgamation of them all. I've got a new, I'll show you a new one I'm working on here. They have these stands where they sell conch shells here on the island. And if you've ever seen them, well, I'll show you with the overhead. Let me see if I can switch cameras. I'll show you. And that's kind of what the overhead looks like too. Let's see here. This is there's these guys that go out and dive, and they get these conch shells, and so when you're driving by on the island, they'll have a assortment out, and they'll blow these things. They make a big long noise, and so I'm going to do a little scene with this guy with his conch shell. This guy blowing a conch shell. He's only about half. He's just kind of roughed in right now. That's going to be the next one that in the series. But it's kind of cool carving the, I've enjoyed these local carvings. It's just a different, trying to just get a little bit of a humorous look at kind of what's daily life here. So,
Chris, are you gonna make this here a rough out?
probably not, Bob. These are kind of, these are more like pieces I do strictly for the art of doing them. And I think they're relatively specific, you know, to this area. I don't know how many of them will work well as rough outs. I don't know how popular they would be.
Well, I know that the old lady and the old man pair that you did, they were a fun, quick.
Yeah.
But plus also the plus the
yeah, that's that couple right there.
Yeah, I've done that one, but there's also a an older Mexican lady and Mexican guy.
Yeah, the little that one's kind of a cool one too. The
yeah, that one right there.
Abuelitos is the grandparents, and it's these little pueblos around the Yucatan, these rock walls, and just kind of a very simple gates and bougainvillea and cactus. It was kind of my take on the. I love these simple little scenes are beautiful in their own way. They're people who live very simply, you know, and the
and Chris, the notice about this is these pieces you're really doing 360-degree designs, so you're actually creating visual interest around the backs of these pieces as well, right?
A little bit, Tony, not as much as that one that's on the Lazy Susan, that tourist one is in the round. I don't put, like on this one, there's not a whole lot to the back. I mean, as you and I discussed, I mean, there's a definite point of view that each piece is designed for. Sometimes I'll hide stuff in the back of them, a little iguana or a small animal, maybe just as kind of like a, what do they call those, Easter egg things?
Yep, an Easter egg.
Like the scrotum in that Carving the Brawl, little Easter eggs, you know? No pun intended.
Hey, you still have the one on the Vespa of all the family with the kids and everybody, or is that one?
No, I've done a couple of those, but sold them both.
Oh, they're so awesome.
I sold them both. That's a very typical, not so much, they've kind of cracked down on it the last few years. The police here have cracked down on the families that used to do that. They have a weird rule that, like, the carving Yaron's talking about is this little, they get around the island, the locals, mostly on motorcycles, and that's their family transportation. So they'll have mom, dad, kids, babies, groceries. I mean, they carry everything on their pipes. They'll carry a 16-foot stick of pipes on their shoulder on these motorcycles. You know, so I did a couple of carvings that were the entire family's kind of caricatures of all the family and 4 or 5 kids and everything on those motorcycles. Those two are with private collectors now. But another little slice of local color here. Hey, Jody, how are you?
I'm doing good, Chris. I've got a question for you. There's a carving that I saw that you've got available on eBay, the cougar. Can I get a blank of that?
You know what? I think that carving, you can buy a blank that works for it, because I think I
Okay.
carved that. There's a, I don't remember what the name of it is on the website, but I've got one rough out that you can do an old man in a bathrobe or the woman in a bathrobe.
Okay.
And that one, I carved that out of that rough out.
Okay. That's good to
So,
know.
yeah, so if you, it will come out of that rough out. If you know, she's got a negligee on and you just leave the heels, she's got some kind of high heels on, and it'll come out of that rough out.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah,
I,
for sure.
I did one of your, the original Boy Scout, rough outs. I did as a, carving for my technical team lead at work, who was a Boy Scout master.
Oh, nice.
And I did that for him for his 50th birthday last year, and
Oh,
he
very
was amazed. He sat there for literally for 2 hours just spinning the carving, looking at it, spin it a little bit, look at it, spin it a little bit,
That's
look
cool.
at it. After
There's
2 hours, he sat it on my desk.
There's a
It
new one I
was-
did of the that really is like a scout master.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah,
is
I saw that, and
the,
it was that and Billy Bongwater was the two in the same picture.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
This one's kind of a new one I did just this year. It's kind of, so I've got that one, and I've got a little Boy Scout, little kind of chubby round Boy Scout.
That's the one that I did, and I resemble the chubby little Boy Scout.
Well, nothing wrong with that.
And
Nothing
it
wrong
was
with
funny
that.
because when that one that you just had in your hands, when that one came out, I showed him that one, and like I said, it was a picture of him and Billy Bongwater, and his reply is he needs to sample some of Billy's product. He's got too dour of a face.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that was after a long day. He's had a long day at camp on this one.
Yep.
And so what's the plan in reinstating the workshops over on the island?
They're still, you're asking about the classes like in January here. I'm still planning on one. I do some classes every January here on the island in Mexico, and they're week-long design classes. And we've done it for 3 years. This will be the 4th year, and still planning on it. Depending, in fact, I'm just confirming this week with this coming week, I'll be confirming with who's still available to travel, you know, it's going to be kind of a weird year this year, but I'm still planning on it. It's January the 11th through the 15th. And I think I've got the one class is full, and I don't know yet if I have enough to do a second class or not. But maybe if anybody's interested, they're welcome to contact me. Send me an email. It's really cool. It's the only, I guarantee it'll be the best class. Like if your spouse will be very happy that to come to this place and let you carve for a week, because it's beautiful. The island's beautiful. It's really spectacular. So, and we work on design stuff. Dean's been down here. Phil's been down here. And Dwayne's been down here. It's a really cool week. We do it right here at my house, and we work on kind of design class. So I help each person with whatever they wanted to carve. It's limited to 8 students, and it's a fun week. For me,
just
it's fun.
verified that.
Yeah. Thank
Snow
you.
doesn't get in the way?
The what?
The snow.
No, the snow doesn't stop us down here. Actually, I tell you what, if it ever does snow, that probably would stop us, because it would be the end of the world or something was happening. No, in January really is a beautiful time of year. It's the high season for tourism because it's beautiful. it's a good time. You should come down. Good time to get out of Seattle.
It's cooling down over there from 110 to 85, huh?
No, we don't get that high. It goes, I mean, the difference between summer and winter is almost negligible. It's not that different, believe it or not. Always in the 80s usually.
I'll try and come back again.
Yeah, I hope you do. I hope you do.
Chris, it's Daniel again. I'm just curious, where do you get your wood?
Heineke primarily. I have, for this last couple years, I've bought some from Sid Clevenger. He's done a couple rough outs for us, and his basswood is excellent. And Heineke has always been an excellent supply of wood. Probably most people know of those guys. But that's part of why I'm going back next week. I'm almost out of basswood. I just bring it down with me. So I'll take back some empty suitcases and load them down with basswood and come back. It's hard to, can't get it. I haven't been able to get it shipped down here yet. They get stopped at customs for some reason.
So do you still paint the ends and call them blocks for your kids?
You know, I haven't the last 2 or 3 times I've gotten through, and they'll take them out and you know, x-ray them 3 or 4 times, but I just tell them it's part of it's pieces for furniture, and they just kind of send me on. So
Gringo.
Yeah, Gringo. Yeah, the Gringo bringing wood again. Yeah.
Hey, Chris.
Hi, Caleb.
Hi, I was just wondering, I just joined. Where are you from, Chris?
I'm from the States, raised in Texas and lived in Colorado, but I live in Mexico currently.
Okay.
I live on a little island off of Cancun.
Oh, okay.
Little island. It's the name of it's Isla Mujeres. It translates to Island of Women. So if the carving coming down to carve doesn't interest you, the name should interest you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Where are you from?
I'm here in Wyoming, originally from Utah.
Oh, okay. Nice. Is it still windy in Wyoming? Always.
Hey, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
How's Jenny doing and the kids?
They're good. They're good. She's probably, like everybody, the kids aren't in school. They're doing online school here, and she's being a mom and a school teacher. So she's doing good, making a lot of picadillo.
Oh, that picadillo is pretty good. Irma is a Charo Beans fan. I can't keep enough of it made for her.
I know, that's good. Well, anybody that comes down to, my wife's a pretty good cook, and she fixes lunch for everybody on the during the days with the class. So if you come down, even if you don't like the wood carving, it's good scenery. My wife's a great cook, so have a good time.
Chris, what are accommodations down by you? I mean, is there a hotel or where do people stay?
Oh, tons of them. Yeah, the island it's a small little island, 1/2 mile wide and 4 miles long. So it's just a little spit of land, but it is full of hotels. There's 2 or 3 within walking distance. A lot of the guys stay here nearby and just walk to the class at my house every day when they come down.
So what took you to Mexico?
Oh, I kind of, Caleb, you know, like any story, there's always a girl involved when a guy makes a big move like that. And I had been coming down here playing. I play music and sing has kind of been a second passion of mine in my life. And So I came down here for years playing and singing, and then met a girl who later is now my wife. And when we decided to get married, I sold everything. I took everything out in one day, put everything on my front yard, sold everything I owned, set my guitar and my wood carving tools, and moved to Mexico. Been happy ever since. Hi, Tommy.
Hello. I was just interested to see that you told the same story.
Yeah,
So
it's
you
the
didn't
same.
lie.
No, that's the thing. You tell the truth. I didn't have to remember. Didn't have to remember what I made up. No, that's the true story. That's the true story. I love Mexico. It's a great country, and not as scary as kind of the you would imagine just seeing the American press, I think. Because from down here, you hear about the United States, and it sounds like the most unsafe place anywhere to go. That's kind of what you hear. I know that's not true about the States, and it's not true about here either. So I love it here. Been very happy with the move.
Chris, we're pushing about 25 after the hour, so I'll open it up for just a few more questions, and then we'll go ahead and finish it up here.
Okay. That's fine with me.
Any other questions from anybody?
I got a quick one. Chris?
Hi, John.
Recently, I got a really good deal on a bunch of bottle stoppers, spit and whittle bottle stoppers off Marketplace.
Uh-huh.
And I knew getting them that they were the resin ones, but is there a way to tell the original old ones from you to the new? Is there a way?
That's it's a good question. There's probably, I could tell if I picked them up and looked at them, John, but there's some knockoffs of them that are still a couple different places have made. And the original ones from me have a tag. If they still have the tag on them with the name, it will say Mancos, Colorado, where they were manufactured.
Okay.
It'll have that original tag. And
I
the
would've bought
ones
them.
that are out right now that are being made are second and third generation from original carvings. So sometimes the quality is really, really bad on them. So unfortunately, they're still out there. And there's people that sell them on, there's a lot of times they'll get sold. I get many, many questions emailed asking if they're originals, because there's people who don't know anything about them that have just bought them somewhere and are reselling them, and they sell them as original carvings. And there's really, there's no, an original carving is very obvious. None of those bottle stoppers are going to be originals unless they're ones that I carved a long, long time ago, back in the, probably the 80s. I started casting them in 87, 88. So they would be very old ones if they were original pieces.
This one says 88 in the scratchings on the top, but that could have been recast a dozen times too,
Well, that's probably the year it was carved, and then
Right.
that's in every casting of it.
Well, I got a super deal, and as I figured, even for reference, it was too good to pass up.
Yeah, I think they're still worth the, I don't even know what those things sell for on there now, but they're still great as reference pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I got 5 or 6 of them for $30 off Marketplace. So
oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, like I said,
no, that's a great.
Yeah, I figured for reference, if anything.
Yeah, I've heard of them selling really expensive on eBay sometimes. I don't even know what the going price is or anything on them.
Hey, Chris, what do you use for paints?
Hi, Gene. It's acrylic. I paint with just regular old acrylic paints, thin down. I'm not a real detailed painter. If it's a red shirt, I paint it red. If it's black boots, I paint it black. Let the antique, I pretty much rely on the antiquing to do the shading and things like that the majority of the time.
So what do you use for antiquing?
It's a mixture of there's a product called Minwax product called gel stain, and that's what I antique with. It does a great job. They nicknamed it turd polish because it will take if you antique one well, in my experience, even a turd of a carving, it'll polish it right up, make it look pretty good. It's Minwax gel stain mixed with a little bit of mineral spirits. But if one word of warning, if you're going to use that, you have to make sure it's completely sealed first. After painting it, I use that, as Sarah asked, I use that acrylic sealer on it and just seal the heck out of it before antiquing it.
Chris, what is your hourly rate on your classes, your Zoom classes?
I have a half hours at $60 and full hours about is $100 for the hour. And honestly, I don't think I've had maybe one person do the half hour. Most of the time it's an hour class, and they run longer than that, Bob. I don't put start a clock and run it. It usually, it runs an hour and 15 minutes, maybe an hour and 20 minutes, kind of till we finish. I just work till we finish whatever whatever the project or whatever it is the particular student wants to work on.
How do they get in touch with you if we want to book your time?
They can email me at chris@chrishammack.com, or if we're on, they find me on Facebook, they can send me a message on Facebook. And kind of the process, or what I do, is set up an initial meeting. There's not any charge on the initial meeting. It's just to check their computer, the connection. I find out their level of carving ability, find out what they want to carve on, and then set a time for the class, and we go from there. Hello, Mr. Stetson.
Hey, Chris,
Billy, here's your mother say.
Chris, I had a question. Sorry, Dave. On these castings that you were talking about, are you casting them yourself, or is a bunch of people recasting them, and how are you preventing them to copying all your casting and production, and do you get anything from it?
Well, like I said, I had a company that we did all our own casting and production, and the knockoffs after when I quit doing them, it's a complicated thing to stop somebody from doing it. It's not only expensive to get the attorneys, and I talked to several attorneys about it, and what it boils down to is, are they hurting you enough to make it worth spending the money to make them stop? And I just didn't want to spend the money and the emotional energy of kind of going after them. And I don't think it doesn't hurt my work any.
Right.
So
are you getting something back for them using your design? Or?
Oh, no, it's just strictly stealing. But you know, anybody can steal until they get stopped, until somebody makes them stop doing it, Caleb. And I just haven't wanted to. It's a, you know, just a, I don't know, a negative process to go through to do it. You know, it seemed like just didn't want to focus the time and energy on it and money it takes to do it. So I've moved on to other stuff. And so that's where I kind of leave it.
All right, thank you.
It doesn't make me happy about it. It just makes it, it is what it is, you know?
Hey, Chris, we heard about
Dave.
your antiquing and stuff that you're using on the carvings. I was just curious what you're using on your beard and mustache.
Oh, that's straight out of a bottle. The what is it? Just for Men. That's the Just for Men stuff.
They have that in Mexico too, huh?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
I'd use acrylic paint, whatever, for that too. Maybe acrylic and antiquing might work for that. If it does, I'll use that too. As long as I can. I'm like an old car, Dave, that gets you know, you can take an old junker of a car, high mileage, but if you know, keep kind of a decent paint job on the outside of it, you know, you can still get around a little.
I figured that's why you were late coming on. You were busy touching it up.
No, I was late coming on because I'm an idiot and I didn't realize Blake said 2:30 Eastern time. No, that has nothing to do with that. That's just strictly my mental limited capacity that caused that. Oh God.
Chris, we're at an hour and a half now, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the questioning for now.
Hey,
say thank you again for coming on and providing information to us and sharing with us. And
my
thanks for all you do
pleasure.
for the carving community.
It's kind of a whittler's life story is kind of a boring thing to go over to for everybody, I know, but I appreciate other questions and thank you for having me on. I think it's a really good venue that you've created. I think it's going to be really good.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
It's going to grow and be really good resource for carvers. So
Well,
thank you.
For your
everybody.
knowledge, today we had almost 90 people on at one time. So this was the record meeting that we've had so far.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So
Congratulations.
it's nice to be able to come on and share with the carving community and not have to get together in person.
Yeah, it's nice to get to talk to. I know I didn't get to talk to everybody, but nice to see everybody.
Well, thanks again for presenting for us. And I want to let you know your information or this video will be out on YouTube and on Facebook for anybody who wants to go back and watch it, or if you want to share it with someone, tell them to go out and check it out. Want to remind everybody also that there's ongoing classes going on. So contact Chris if you want to get into a design class, a carve class, a painting class. Get up with him and work that out with him. I'm sure he'll be happy to set that up for you. Dave Stetson has a class that's coming up in December on carving Mel busts. So contact Dave if you want to participate in that class in December. Kevin Applegate has ongoing classes scheduled on his website, Second Alarm Wood Carving. So make sure you go out and check out Kevin Applegate's classes. And Alec Lacoste, who's been on with us before, he does cottonwood bark carvings. Check him out. He has ongoing classes as well as a subscription carving class that he does that you can go out and participate in. So make sure you check with him. Again, Chris Hammack is on Chris Hammack Art on the internet. Check him out. You can contact him through Facebook and Instagram or message him and he'll be happy to work out a class with you. Thank you all for joining us today. This is the International Association of Woodcarvers. Again, we'll be back next week where we'll have Jared Wood on doing a demonstration on carving some ornaments. So check out Jared next week, and we have quite a few things coming up in the coming week. So make sure you join us each week, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.